Feel frustrated in dealing with people of different age groups than yours, or that it feels difficult to relate to their experience? Sandy Robbs, a member of Toastmasters and our speaker tonight, certainly has. She will share some of her thoughts and experiences as a senior. After her speech, she would like the group to share an open discussion about age stereotypes, where people have to categorize you because of your age, young or old, and the ways we have to deal with it. Also, she would like us to share ideas on how to adapt and expand our thinking to make sure that we don't put others in a box. With the speech entitled, "Don't Put Me in a Box," please help me welcome Sandy Robb.
Sandy.
Unmute probably works best.
Okay.
Just give me a sec here now. I lost my notes and I'm a senior, and you know what happens when you lose your notes as a senior. Okay. We live in a world of isms. The three getting the most media attention these days are racism, sexism, and ageism. Purely by accident of birth, I've only had two of these isms to contend with: sexism and ageism. And throughout my early working career, when men were the bosses and women were the secretaries, dealing with sexism was just part of working life. Now that I'm retired, all I face is ageism, as if that isn't enough. I think ageism is perhaps a more subtle prejudice than the other two, but every bit as real. If you're not already aware of it, the term ageism was coined in 1969, the year I was first married. Boy, am I old, and long before many of you were born. It refers to stereotyping and/or discrimination against individuals or groups based on their age. It was intended to describe discrimination against seniors. However, because the definition doesn't specifically exclude younger people, I prefer to use ageism as a term to describe bias against anyone based on their age. If I were to stop people on the street and ask them to describe seniors, if they would talk to me, many would use words like frail, feeble, elderly, slow-moving. Yet when you look at some well-known seniors, none of these words come close to describing who they are. For example, think of Jane Goodall, age 86. She spent 50 years researching chimpanzees in Africa, and to the day, she still champions animal rights. Think of Jane Fonda, age 82, Oscar-winning actress, former fitness guru, fashion model, and still an environmentalist and political activist who even to the day manages to get herself arrested for championing her causes. More currently in the news is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who just died at the age of 87. At the time of her death, she held the role of Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the US, and over the course of many years has been instrumental in passing human rights legislation. These women are stellar examples that age is just a number. But enough about celebrities. What about the average older person like me? Just the other day, I was walking toward an open checkout lane at the grocery store, lugging my basket of groceries. All of a sudden, someone yanked the basket right out of my hand. I thought the woman was stealing my groceries. She's lucky that I didn't deck her. Then I realized she thought my basket looked heavy, and it was. But seeing my white hair, she assumed I was too feeble to carry it. She only wanted to help. Lesson 1 in dealing with old folks: ask before assuming. Come to think of it, that could be a guideline for most situations we encounter in life. I have to admit, when I was young, I had no idea what seniors were like or what they were capable of. My family were all really young when they died. So I never had the experience of growing up around people who were much older than me. I didn't have the opportunity to learn from them, and I thought of them only as slow-moving and decrepit. They were always clogging the way in the grocery aisles when I was in a hurry, and they drove so slowly they drove me crazy. When I was 20, I thought 60 was ancient. And in the tradition of my Norse ancestors, I thought anyone who lived that long should be put out to sea on a burning raft. Perhaps my thinking was a little bit extreme. As do most of us over time, I re-examined my values and my thinking evolved. No more thoughts of burning rafts for seniors. Lucky for us old folks that old Norse tradition never caught on again. At some point in my late 40s, and after many miles and years of separation, I was introduced to my late uncle's wife, my Aunt Helen. My uncle died when I was just a teenager, and I lost touch with the family. My aunt carried on without him. She ran the successful business he started. She salvaged a business her son, my cousin, ran almost into bankruptcy. She spearheaded family gatherings, and she became Grandma Helen or Aunt Helen to 4 generations of family, friends, and acquaintances. In my favorite photo of her, there she sits at age 92, a face that's never seen a drop of makeup. She's wearing her traditional light blue floral print house dress. Her owlish and all-seeing blue eyes peer out from behind pale framed glasses, and her wiry, untamed, steely gray hair escapes in wind-blown wisps from underneath a black and orange Harley-Davidson bandana. She's perched astride my cousin's Harley. Her dress is tucked primly around her, and she's looking back over her shoulder with an impish grin that says, "Catch me if you can." I was lucky enough to be there to help celebrate her 100th birthday. And to this day, she is a role model I will always aspire to. She blasted every thought of old people's limitations out of my head. Did you know that scientific research has proven that in less time than it takes to blink, we form an opinion about people we meet? We prejudge them. And this prejudice isn't new. It's ingrained in us. It stems from the caveman days where people had only a few seconds to decide whether someone they encountered was friend or foe, and whether to face them, to fight them, or to flee them. Their lives depended on that instant decision. Even today, with so much knowledge at our fingertips, some people are so set in their ways they find it nearly impossible to move past that initial first impression. They won't take the time to discover what the person is really like. If they see an old person, the image they may carry with them from past experience may be that the person has outlived their usefulness and is a drain on society. On the other hand, if they see a young person, they may dismiss them as inexperienced and even lacking ambition. Fortunately, many of us are less rigid in our thinking and will take time to get to know someone rather than to prejudge. We accept them for who they are, limitations and all. The instinctive snap judgments we make about people can close the doors on potential relationships. We may miss out on the fun of sharing stories of lives lived and of common or not so common experiences, all because of not taking the time to find out what someone's really like. Making snap judgments is like putting people in a box and closing the lid. As a senior, I get angry when people make assumptions about me. This is especially true if they think I'm frail, that I'm forgetful, muddle-headed, that my opinions are no longer worthwhile, that I'm a dinosaur who doesn't know what's going on in today's world. Well, welcome to my senior world. Do you think I enjoy feeling a fool when someone as young as a 10-year-old has to explain to me how the apps on my phone work? Do you think I like to keep my notes nearby when I speak in case I forget what I was going to say? And sometimes I do. Do you think I would put these wrinkles on my face just for fun? The wrinkles are the result of genetics and life experiences, but it doesn't mean I like to look at them any more than you do. And because my skin is wrinkled, it doesn't mean that my thought process is. There are plenty of physical signs of aging that I've just had to learn to live with. Much as I haven't wanted to, I've learned it. And I ask that you accept them as part of me, just as I've had to. If you got to know me, I might even surprise you. I might have learned some lessons in life that I can share with you and prevent you from making some of the same mistakes I did when I was your age. But I'd much rather you have the opportunity to make all your own mistakes. Just as each of you is different in appearance, knowledge, temperament, experience, background, so is each of us older folks. So don't put us in a box. I know people who still run marathons at age 80, and I also know many who are wheelchair bound at age 60. I do have some friends who have dementia, limited physical ability, and very little interest in what's happening around them. However, more of my older friends volunteer, teach classes, are writers, artists, physically active. Some are enrolled in lifelong learning courses. Some travel the world. Some of them still work. Some of my friends are retired like me, and some have never worked outside the home. Overall, probably not a lot of difference from your friends. As a senior, I ask you to not put me in a box. That literal box is coming far too soon for my liking. So don't box me in with your limited perspective of who I am. And I will try to avoid putting you in a box with my unfounded ideas too. And back to you, Amin.